Hey friends, what's up? Ash here with Gents. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about some cheap fragrances, okay? Fragrances you can pick up without paying that much moolah, assuming you're shopping at discounters. And then I'm going to show you fragrances that you could buy if you wanted something similar to those cheap fragrances, but higher quality. So if you've got that Porsche money, maybe you want to spend up and get the upgrade. Cheap fragrances and their upgrades. So let's jump into it, guys. Let's check this out. 7 cheapies. And then if you want to take it up to the next level, a nice replacement for them. And guys, if you shop at luckyscent.com or twistedlily.com, links in the description to those sites and also these fragrances, use the code GENTS10, save yourself 10% off those websites. So save a little money on those niche scents. We're gonna kick it off with one of the most well-known, hyped, cheap fragrances ever of all time, and it's from Bentley. So earlier I was talking about Porsche money, but now we're talking Bentley money. But Bentley fragrance money is a way different thing than Bentley car money, because Bentley fragrances at discounters are not expensive. They're like base model 1999 Chevy Cavalier. Anyway, Bentley for Men Intense. Everybody knows this little cheap hype monster. You can get this in the high 30s right now at discounters. Now, when I priced out these fragrances, I looked at Fragrance Net and Fragrance Buy mainly. Sometimes I snuck over to Joma Shop and checked that website out, but that's where I was pricing these. So this has incense, rum, leather, and woods as some of the notes in the fragrance. It does smell very high class, very good for a cheap, inexpensive fragrance. It's maybe not the easiest fragrance for a newbie to get into. A lot of people who are just getting started with fragrances, who are wearing your very fresh scents, your very sweet scents, they'll watch lists of best cheap fragrances. They'll see this one getting talked about a lot. They'll go buy it. They'll get the package in, be so excited, spray it on, and then just drop the bottle in horror. Just like that chick from The Ring crawled out of a TV at you. They just, because they can't get with the leather, the smoke, the woodiness. It's pungent, but I do think it smells fantastic. Awesome fall and wintertime fragrance. So this, a really high quality cheapie, but let's say you've got some walking around money that you want to splash on the table and you want to get something that smells similar to that, but even higher quality. Well, my friends, you would go for this Idole de Lubin. Plus, look at that bottle. That's pretty sweet, pretty slick looking. Nice. The note breakdown is pretty similar between the two fragrances. So you have incense in here, you got rum, you have leather, you have woods. Once again, you've got saffron in this fragrance, and it does smell like a higher quality, more rich, more sophisticated, smoother take on Bentley for Men Intense. It's gonna run you about $200. That's the retail pricing for this one. This is an eau de parfum. Originally, this fragrance was an eau de toilette, had a different presentation, but that is discontinued now. So if you go for this new, this is what you're gonna be getting. Next up, a fragrance that you can pick up in the high 20s. So in that like $27, $28 range, it's Guess 1981 Indigo. Now, pretty much all Guess fragrances are cheap. They're inexpensive, but a decent amount of them actually smell good, especially for the price. And this is one of them. This one is interesting because it makes use of fig and coconut both. So it's giving you a very different take on a masculine fragrance. It has this tropical sort of sweetness that you don't pick up all that often in designer scents. Also has lavender and cedar, very easy to wear. And this one you may find at your local TJ Maxx, Ross's, Marshall's, stores like that, because Guess fragrances matriculate their way into those stores pretty often. So if you wanted to spend a little bit more and you wanted a nice fig fragrance, what would you get? You would get Diptyque Philosicos. This has fig, fig leaf, fig tree, fig everything. It's centered around fig to the maximum, to the point that the little drawing on the front of the bottle is a fig, actually multiple figs. This is the eau de toilette. There's also an eau de parfum concentration of the fragrance. As of this video, you can find the eau de toilette concentration for about $140 at discounters. But Diptyque is not really a house that's overly expensive, even at full retail, at least as far as niche fragrances are concerned. The quality here far outshines Guess 1981 Indigo. I think it is a fantastic fragrance. Actually, one of the pinnacle of fig fragrances, I'd say. Like if you had a fig fragrance Mount Rushmore, which is a very, very niche Mount Rushmore that we're talking about there, this fragrance would be up there. Let's get something very obvious out of the way. Montblanc Explorer. This one you can pick up for the high 30s, and that's for this size bottle, 60 milliliters, 2 fluid ounces. It has bergamot, ambroxan, pink pepper, and vetiver as some of the notes in the fragrance. And of course, Explorer smells like a more affordable, versatile designer take on Creed's Aventus. So Aventus has bergamot, it has pineapple, it has black currant, it's got vanilla, it has ambergris, and I still do think that Aventus smells absolutely fantastic. Some people will say it's hyped too much, and then other people will say it's not hyped enough. It's the king of men's fragrances. It will never be dethroned. This is the Conan the Barbarian of fragrances, the pinnacle. But Explorer does do a really nice job at giving you this style of fragrance, only maybe more modern with that kind of woodiness that it has going on instead of smokiness, and much more affordable. So like I said, high 30s for this one. This one, a 50 ml size bottle, kind of run you in the neighborhood of 220 from discounters, but you already knew that about all these, so we'll keep it moving. All right, next up we got from Salvatore Ferragamo, Acqua Essenziale Colonia. This one you can find in the mid 20s for a 50 ml size bottle. I originally found these at TJ Maxx. They were doing a huge sale, just liquidating this entire line all over the place, and you could pick it up for peanuts, and it still is pretty affordable. This is a really nice, very classy fragrance, great for spring and summer. It's done in that classic Italian cologne style, very gentlemanly, aromatic. Bergamot, clary, sage, ambroxan, and orange blossom, some of the notes in the fragrance. And if you wanted something that was similar to this, but higher quality, with more cachet, and one of the OG fragrances in that style, you would go with Acqua di Parma Colonia, which I don't own, but I do own Acqua di Parma Colonia Essenza. So I'm gonna hold this bottle up and you can pretend like this is a bottle of Acqua di Parma Colonia, which I have smelled in the past at stores, but I haven't picked it up for whatever reason, even though I got like 15 from the house. Acqua di Parma Colonia is not that expensive from discounters though. You can pick up a 50 ml size of that bottle in the high 50s range. So while it's a step up from this one in terms of quality, in terms of price, it's not terribly more expensive. I say that, it's like double the cost of this, but it's still not super expensive. The Acqua di Parma Colonia is going to be a little bit classier, a little bit more mature, a little bit more grown up, so younger guys are gonna find the Ferragamo easier to wear. But if you're looking for just the highest quality out of those two, go with the Acqua di Parma. Really solid office fragrances, great daytime fragrances, great casual scents, spring, summer, early fall. Or really if you're going somewhere air conditioned year round. Next up is Missoni Parfum Pour Homme. This one you can find in the low 30s, so very affordable, very approachable. It has a blue fragrance, versatility, and complement factor, which makes sense because this is essentially a cheaper version of this Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette. And this one's gonna run you about $90 because typically Bleu de Chanel or Chanel in general, you can't find at discounted prices all that often. And if you see a Chanel that's at a steep discount, pretty good chance it's fake and you're gonna get ripped off. Chanel is probably the best designer brand at keeping fragrances locked down as far as the distribution goes, because Chanel will legitimately sue people into the earth if they see you selling their fragrances at a discount. Case in point, Notino in the United States. Chanel went after them big time. Notino no longer sells in the United States. They sell overseas, but not in the US. Thanks, Chanel, for that. I liked Notino. So grapefruit, ginger, lavender, and oak over here. And guess what? Also grapefruit, ginger, and woods over here, along with incense and mint as well. Bleu de Chanel is going to be the higher quality choice between the two, but is it 3 times better than Missoni Parfum Pour Homme? No, not really, it isn't. So it just depends on how much money you have and how much you're willing to spend. If you're looking for the best Bleu de Chanel type fragrance, then get Bleu de Chanel. But if you don't have that money to spend on this, you can get this, and it's gonna get you really close from a house that is pretty well known. And if you get the full presentation, it even comes with a magnetic cap. Because Bleu de Chanel has one. So yeah, I got a tester. Testers don't have a cap. They look ugly. Don't get a tester. Next fragrance on the docket, Drakkar Noir. This one you can get in the low 20s. This is a personal favorite of mine, an 80s staple. Some people will say incorrectly, I might add, that Drakkar Noir smells dated. No, come on. I'm just playing with you guys. I understand it smells obviously like it's of its time, but I still love the way it smells. Nothing will change that. Not even you guys telling me how much it sucks. So this has lavender and oak moss, carnation, pine, basically like all the staple notes from the 80s. It's in here. Now, if you wanted to ramp up your Drakkar Noir game, you want something that's gonna be similar-ish. Now, this one I would say is the furthest apart of any of the fragrances we're gonna talk about today as far as like smelling like the cheaper one. But if you want something that's a little Drakkar Noir-ish, you know, bits and pieces of it, but given a modern flair, ramped up performance and personality, and just an absolutely killer, classy fall and winter fragrance for men nowadays, you would go with this Sauvage Elixir. $165 is what this is gonna cost you. Now, like I said, it's not super close to Drakkar Noir, but there are little bits of this fragrance that remind me of Drakkar. And man, does this really pack a punch. Even just from the atomizer, it reminds you of how strong it is. Lavender, cinnamon, licorice, and sandalwood, some of the notes in this fragrance. It has warm spice, masculine woods. It absolutely kills in the cold in a very positive way, not like killing in a bad way. Sauvage Elixir is the most accepted and loved fragrance in the Sauvage line by people in the fragrance world, you could say. And I love it too. Sauvage Elixir is awesome stuff. All right, we are at the final fragrance. The cheap one is Shaghaft Oud by Swiss Arabian. This one you can get in the high 20s from discounters. I don't really like the presentation. I mean, it's very shiny, but outside of that, it looks cheap. It feels cheap. The atomizer is really bad on these. Turdy atomizer. Let's waste a spray. Oh God, it's terrible. Don't know if you can tell, but this is one of those atomizers where you press it down and it feels like it grinds the whole way down. It doesn't even give you a nice puff. It's like, ugh. Oud, rose, saffron, praline, and vanilla, some of the notes in the fragrance. Now, even though the presentation is not good and the atomizer is not good, the fragrance itself smells good. Like, the quality here is quite nice for the price. It is ultimately, though, a clone fragrance, and it is a clone of this Oud Bouquet. Now, this is gonna run you about $150 or so. And you can tell that this is a clone of this, even just looking at the presentation there, both with their golden tones. Oh, and also they have the exact same note breakdown, so that's part of it too. Now, as with all these fragrances, if you're looking for the highest quality one, you go with Oud Bouquet. It's going to give you higher quality. It's a little bit richer, a little bit deeper, denser. The sweetness here is a little less potentially scratchy in Oud Bouquet. But if you don't have $150 to burn, this will get you really close for much less. Although this obviously looks a lot better too. So it looks better in the collection than this. But that Swiss Arabian is probably the best one that I have found from the brand for the price that you can pick it up for. Now, to be fair, with Swiss Arabian, I've only smelled like 6 of them. So that's a very small portion of their entire lineup, but that's a good one outside of the whole presentation thing. So there we go, guys. 7 cheap fragrances. So if you don't have too much money, you could look at those ones. But then if you have a little more money to burn, you could take a look at their replacements. Let me know in the comments below some of your cheap and then expensive alternatives. Thanks for hanging with me here. Thanks for your support. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.